Well, if it isn't my favorite class, what's up, humanities students? Welcome to my virtual classroom. So normally when we start a class like humanities, I have a lot of leeway there where I don't have a specific course curriculum that I have to follow like I would in US history. We would have probably spent a lot of discussion time, like several class periods, just kind of brainstorming and talking about all the various topics that we could get into. I love this class because we can go down the rabbit hole. We can head in a lot of different directions, and I think that's fun and kind of exciting. And hopefully, you guys end up liking it too, because most of your core classes, they do have a specific set of things that you have to get through. Whereas this one, you can kind of mold it and manipulate it. And if you're an active participant in a class and you're outspoken, you can probably guide some of the learning to go in a direction that would interest you more. So for today, hopefully you can see it and read this on the whiteboard behind me. I've listed off a ton of different topics, some of which we covered last year, a few others we were about to get into, and then the shutdown happened, which really bummed me out because a couple of my favorite personal topics and things that I really wanted to cover in humanities class we didn't get to, and it got cut short. For what we're doing today, you don't have any concrete assignment. This isn't a journal entry, although we'll have more of those coming up pretty soon. I'm going to put this in the participation discussion thread category, where you're going to watch this video. I'll try to be pretty brief on it. If you know me, I have a tendency to get long-winded often, but I'll try not to in this one. And afterwards, to get your participation points, I want you to go and comment in the student work comment section. Also, my apologies for the first graded discussion that went in this past week. I didn't realize it until just here yesterday that actually when you post an assignment in Google Classroom, there's two different places where you can do class comments and discussion. There's one that would be in just the instructions tab. That was where I was posting, and I saw a few people had posted stuff in there, but I was totally oblivious to there's a whole another tab that's student work, where the students make comments, and that's where everybody was posting at. So if you had a 0 and you saw your grade get tanked for a little bit, my bad. I think I got everybody squared away. If you had just made your comment today, I'm going to be pretty lenient on late work as we get rolling here. Shoot me an email if you go back in and make a comment. I don't care that it's after the due date at this point. Let me know and I'll get your grade fixed up. For the future, we're going to have, I'm going to do, now participation just in the discussion threads is going to be 25% of your grade, and it is weighted that way. I put in a 10-point column for the month of September. As soon as you make a comment on this thread here today, I'm going to max you out and give you 10 points. And then each discussion thread after that, as long as you continue to make comments or ask questions, you'll keep your 10 points and maintain that part of your grade. If at any point you decide not to participate or you don't comment, then I'll start deducting points from there. So that's kind of how that'll work. And again, my apologies if I missed you last week and dinged your grade for a little bit there. I got a lot of emails really quick, but I think I got everybody squared away. So what I want you to comment on today in the student comment section, the student writing, I want you to give me 3 choices for your top 3 things that you would like to cover in this class. You're also welcome to say anything you want. You're welcome to try to persuade other people to vote with the topics that you want them to vote for, so that we might be more likely to cover those right up front and get to them right away. Again, top 3 topics that you'd want to cover. Now, I've listed off quite a few on the whiteboard behind me, and I'm going to really quickly read them off to you. We're not limited to these in any way. So if you have another great idea, something that you would like to cover that you think might fit in the overall theme of humanities class, which is really kind of a catch-all social studies elective, throw it out there. You're not limited to these. Any ideas you have, I'm totally open to ideas for what we could cover in this class and fun stuff to get into. All right. I think it would be very remiss to not do something, especially in the near future, over the next month or two, that would tie into politics and the upcoming election. I followed politics my whole life, at least since I was in probably middle school or so, have been kind of interested in it. I've never seen just the political atmosphere as crazy as it is today. And Donald Trump, whether you love him or hate him, what a guy. He is an interesting character. I would have never thought in my wildest dreams we'd have a president that tweets and acts like he does. He's quite a character, and he really manipulates the media and all that. And I think American politics is really becoming a circus. So I know some people too have like zero interest in politics and they hate it and they tune out right away. Tell me, I'm curious if any of you would like to get into some of that. But I think whether it's a real popular one or not, you can probably expect at the very least I'm going to do a few days of election type stuff. We'll do some of that in the lead up to the presidential election coming up. All right, other things. COVID-19, obviously that's really big news in the whole world today, this big global pandemic. I've never seen anything even remotely like this in my lifetime. So that would be something we could hit, whether the shutdowns were a good idea, if we've handled the crisis good, all kinds of different things there. Racial tensions, unless you've been living in a cave, I would imagine you've tuned in a little bit to the news and different YouTube videos. The country's pretty tense right now, and I've heard people say they feel like we're like heading to a race war, or that it's going to be something almost like the Civil War, where the country is dividing apart a lot on like racial lines. Tensions are super high there, the highest I've seen in my lifetime. That might be an interesting topic to cover, just racial tensions in general, racism. We could look at that from quite a few different angles. The future, that one's pretty wide open, but just kind of speculating and thinking about what the future might be like. Humans in space, that was the very next unit we were going to cover last year when the shutdown happened. We had a lot of students that were super pumped up for it, and then we got cut off and never got to it. So that was one I really wanted to hit last year. Just kind of the future, humans in space, everything going on there. We can go a lot of different directions with that. Tribalism, where people kind of feel like they're a part of a group and they don't want to betray their group and they don't trust other people that are kind of outside of their tribe. Conspiracy theories, I know I've already had a few people just send me messages and comments that they were interested in various conspiracy theories. There's a million different ones out there, from the JFK assassination to, just you name it, the QAnon stuff going on today. That's something that I think would probably be a high interest topic too. We hit that last year and it was pretty popular in my humanities class. I think it was one of the probably more favorite units that we had hit last year. Gender roles, just LGBTQ, everything going on with trans rights. That's something we could get into. Guns in America. I'm a gun owner. I like to competitively shoot. Maybe I have a little bias on that topic, but I think it's pretty interesting, and I totally see both sides of the argument for the pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment argument, and the people that think Americans are gun nuts and we need to pass different gun control and reform measures and stuff too. So guns in America I think would be a good one. Depression and anxiety, that's something that I think really affects a lot of people in all generations, but especially your generation that's coming up through school today. So that's one on the table. School reforms, I mean, all of you, if you're in this class right now, you're in school, you probably have some ideas for how we could do things better. So that might be a fun one to hit. World religions, that was like my top one last year, and I was saving it to be the last unit of the class, where I just find different religions fascinating. It wouldn't be me trying to convert you or tell you should be in any religion, and honestly, I'm kind of an agnostic. Which means like I don't think you can really prove or disprove that there is a God, but I'm fascinated by world religions. So I think that might be a fun one where we could look at and do some research on different religions around the world and have some good discussions there. World cultures, which would kind of tie into that. Modern conflicts, just some of the fights going around in the world today, some of the hot spots. Life extension, a lot of cool new research coming out today that makes me think that people are going to live a whole lot longer in the future than what we currently are. I mean, life expectancy's been trending up for decades now, but there's might be some crazy breakthroughs just around the corner. So that might be a fun one to hit. Conflict gyms, that's one last year we had shown a movie called Blood Diamond, and it totally ties into that. And actually, one I forgot to put up here would be child soldiering too, where little kids get kind of abducted and forced to be soldiers or fight in different conflicts. Those two will kind of go hand in hand. So that might be a fun one. We might be able to tie in a movie for that unit too, if we hit it. Government reform. Last year we looked at different governments and how it's done in different places around the world. It wouldn't quite be like civics class. We're not going to dig into American government that deep, but just ideas for how maybe we can do government better. One of the projects we did last year that was one of my absolute favorite from the class was you got with a partner and you designed your own government. Like if you could just create a government from scratch, you had a magic wand, how would you draw up the government? What kind of a constitution or rule book would you come up with? Next up, poverty. That ties into a whole lot of different things. Poverty, we could also do like world hunger, malnutrition, that kind of stuff with it. Communism versus capitalism, two terms that get thrown around an awful lot, but your average American walking down the street probably doesn't have a very good working definition of what those two terms actually mean. So that's something that we could get into, and I think that debate in American politics today is kind of raging on. Which path should we go? The more socialist communist approach, or should we stay very strictly free market capitalists? History tidbits. As you know, I'm a history guy. I love history. My main class is U.S. history. I've always wanted to be a world history teacher as well. If we wanted to just dive into some interesting little nuggets of history, there's always all kinds of stuff that I would like to cover in history class that doesn't fit into my U.S. history curriculum. So that'd be something we could have a dozen other topics that would spring off of that, where we could just look at different time periods in history that you might be interested in. Last one I had up here was evolution versus creationism. So that would kind of tie into world religions, but just more like, do you believe there is a God, or are you an atheist, believe there's no God, or are you somewhere in between? Like I said, I was an agnostic. So that's my list. Hopefully you have even more things that you could add to it, and maybe you've got some better ideas that I hadn't even thought of. Again, I hope you watch this video right through to the end. I can see I'm at 12 minutes right now. I'm gonna try my best to always keep videos that I'll post 15 minutes or less. It looks like I'm gonna make it this time. I'm under my allotted time. Final thing, you get a part of your participation grade today. Again, as soon as you make a comment on this thread and the student comments, then I will max you out in the September participation points category. And as long as you keep making comments, you'll maintain that and keep 100% in that category. So again, what I want you to post in this comment section, first off, if you have any questions, if you have anything about what I just talked about, shoot, ask me. And either another student or myself will try to help clarify an answer for you. But then the main thing that I want to do is just kind of poll the class, and I want you to give me your top 3 picks of all the topics I have behind me there, or any others that you might think of that you'd rather cover. List them off for me. Pick 1, pick 2, pick 3, what you'd be most interested in, and hopefully that'll kind of guide what direction we move forward in, at least for the immediate future. All right, hope this video finds you all well. Take care. Talk to you again soon.